Hello. In this video, we're going to learn about World War I and its main features. Make sure to watch until the end, because I'll be asking you 3 questions at the end of the video. Historical background: the road to World War I. At the dawn of the 20th century, the world, especially Europe, was living under growing tensions among major powers due to long-standing rivalries, colonial ambitions, military alliances, and a fierce arms race. Great empires such as Britain, France, Germany, Russia, and Austria-Hungary each sought dominance, whether within Europe or across global colonies. A complex network of alliances had formed: the Triple Alliance: Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and the Triple Entente: Britain, France, and Russia. This fragile balance was like a barrel of gunpowder, needing only a single spark to explode. That spark came in the summer of 1914, when Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated in Sarajevo, dragging the entire continent into what would become the deadliest conflict in its history up to that point. Military alliances and nationalism, a volatile mix. In the years leading up to the war, Europe was experiencing a sharp rise in nationalist sentiment, particularly in the Balkans, where ethnic groups like the Serbs, Croats, and Bosnians sought independence from Austria-Hungary. At the same time, Germany was eager to expand its influence, often clashing with the interests of Britain and France. Russia positioned itself as a protector of Slavic nations in the Balkans. These nationalist aspirations and imperial ambitions led to rigid military alliances. Ironically, alliances meant to prevent war ended up widening its scope. Any conflict between two countries could now trigger a continental war. Each nation was preparing for the worst and had invested heavily in building vast armies and powerful navies, creating a climate of constant tension where war seemed inevitable. The spark: the assassination and the outbreak of war. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, visited Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, an area recently annexed by Austria-Hungary. During the visit, he was assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a young Serbian nationalist belonging to a secret organization known as the Black Hand. This act was the match that ignited the European powder keg. Within a month of ultimatums and diplomatic posturing, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia mobilized in Serbia's defense, prompting Germany to declare war on Russia, followed by France. When Germany invaded neutral Belgium to reach France, Britain declared war as well. What could have been a local conflict thus escalated into a full-scale global war. The opening phase: War of Movement, 1914. In the early months of the war, the European fronts witnessed a swift war of movement. As armies maneuvered rapidly across territories, seeking decisive victories, Germany implemented the Schlieffen Plan, which aimed to quickly defeat France by advancing through Belgium before turning east to face Russia. However, the plan faltered due to fierce resistance, particularly at the First Battle of the Marne in September 1914, which halted the German advance near Paris. On the Eastern Front, Russia launched offensives against Germany and Austria-Hungary, but suffered crushing defeats, notably at the Battle of Tannenberg. Though this phase was fast-paced and bloody, it quickly gave way to a new and grimmer chapter: the static, grueling War of Trenches. Trench warfare: the bloody stalemate, 1915–1917. By the end of 1914, the war on the Western Front had settled into a long, static trench war stretching from the North Sea to the Swiss border. Armies dug deep, fortified positions across hundreds of kilometers, and launched repeated, often futile assaults across no man's land, the deadly, barren zone between enemy lines. Conditions were horrific. Soldiers lived in freezing, muddy trenches plagued by disease, vermin, and psychological trauma like shell shock. New and terrifying weapons were introduced, including poison gas, tanks, and flamethrowers. On the Eastern Front, the war remained more fluid due to larger spaces and fewer fortifications, but was just as deadly during this period. More nations joined the conflict. The Ottoman Empire sided with the Central Powers, while Italy joined the Allies. The war had now become truly global. The collapse of empires and shifting power, 1917–1918. The year 1917 marked a turning point. Russia withdrew from the war after the Bolshevik Revolution overthrew the Tsarist regime, leading to the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with Germany. This allowed Germany to shift troops westward. Meanwhile, the United States entered the war on the side of the Allies, motivated by repeated attacks on its ships by German submarines and the infamous Zimmermann telegram. The entry of fresh American troops and resources tipped the balance in favor of the Allies. Within the Central Powers, public morale plummeted and revolts broke out. Nationalist uprisings and economic collapse pushed Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Germany to the brink of disintegration, setting the stage for the final phase of the war. The end of the war and the armistice, 1918. In the final months of 1918, the Allies launched massive offensives that overwhelmed German defenses. One by one, Germany's allies surrendered: Bulgaria, then the Ottoman Empire, then Austria-Hungary. Facing military defeat, economic ruin, and revolution at home, Germany was forced to seek an armistice. On November 11, 1918, Germany signed the armistice with the Allies in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France, bringing an official end to the fighting. Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated and fled to exile, and the German Empire collapsed, replaced by the Weimar Republic. The world had changed forever. The Treaty of Versailles and its consequences. In 1919, world leaders convened in Paris for the Peace Conference, where the Treaty of Versailles was imposed on Germany. The treaty was harsh. It blamed Germany entirely for the war, imposed severe military restrictions, demanded massive reparations, and stripped Germany of its colonies and territory. Far from ensuring peace, the treaty sowed deep resentment among the German people and laid the foundations for future conflict, namely, the rise of Adolf Hitler and World War II. The end of the war also saw the collapse of four major empires: the German, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires. New states emerged on the map of Europe, including Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and Poland. Human and economic costs of the war. The toll of World War I was staggering. Over 16 million people died, and tens of millions were wounded or left missing. Entire towns and cities were reduced to rubble. The economies of Europe were devastated, leading to a post-war depression and widespread suffering. The war also brought about major social changes. Women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers, and art, literature, and philosophy took on darker, more introspective tones, reflecting the trauma of the war. The psychological scars left by the conflict were profound, prompting the creation of the League of Nations, an international body aimed at preventing future wars. Unfortunately, its efforts would later prove insufficient. Conclusion. World War I was a transformative event that reshaped the modern world. It was not just a military conflict, but a political, social, and cultural earthquake that toppled ancient empires, redrew maps, and shifted global power. Though it was called the Great War at the time, humanity failed to learn its lesson. Only 2 decades later, an even more destructive conflict would erupt. Nonetheless, the First World War remains a stark reminder of both mankind's capacity for destruction and its ability to rebuild after catastrophe. Its legacy is still felt today in diplomacy, in history, and in the continued pursuit of peace. Question 1. What event directly triggered the outbreak of World War I? Question 2. Which countries were part of the Triple Alliance before the war? Question 3. What was the name of the treaty that ended World War I, and what did it impose on Germany?